Tech Talk. Today we're looking at the new AMD APU, the A-Series. Specifically today we're looking at the A8-3850, which is the top of the line of these mainstream APUs. Now it's using the new FM1 socket, okay? So even though it might look that it's the same size as an AM3 socket, do not put this in your AM3 board, okay? You will break or damage something for sure. It really only uses 905 pins, okay? So keep that in mind. You do need one of these new boards that have the new chipset, Southbridge chipset, which is the A55 or the A75 chipset, and I'll talk about that in a second. These are the different types of A-Series APUs that have been released. I'm looking at the 3850, which is a 100-watt CPU, 4 cores, comes with a GPU on the same die, on the same chip, which has a 600 core clock and 800 megahertz on the memory clock, supports all the latest technologies as you would expect, okay? And you can even add another discrete video card so that it can work together and have a boost in performance. And that's one of the points that AMD makes compared to the Core i3, the Sandy Bridge. So that's where it's positioning itself. Now here's my test system. I'm using this brand new Asus board, which I'll review in a separate video. And the Llano code name for this, as you can see, FM1 Socket, 32 nanometer architecture. Right now, by default, I'm running it at 2.9 gigahertz, okay, which is the maximum speed here that you can get this chip. It's locked, the multiplier at 29, but you can increase the bus speed to overclock it. Has no level 3 cache, but it has 4 cores, which is terrific. Now, looking here again at this board from Asus, I'll be doing a more in-depth review on this A75 chipset, but just so that you know, between the A55 and the A75, this one here, the A75 supports USB 3.0 and SATA 3.0. Okay, so that's the main difference. Memory, I'm running it at 800 megahertz, as you can see here, so that's 1600 effectively, 99924. And we're using the built-in, or fused, if you want to call it, GPU. Okay, hence the AMD Fusion that they use, that nickname. Here is the CPU temperature on idle, 25 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely sweet. Now, I am using the brand new NZXT Havoc 140 CPU cooler. Again, I'll make a separate video review of that one. But here it is at full load, 38 degrees Celsius, again using defaults. And this is very, very nice. I gotta admit, 32 nanometer architecture, increasing the voltage, hardly making much of a difference when it comes to temperatures, which is really, really good. That's what we want to see here when we run benchmarks, when we test out a brand new CPU. Now, in this AMD system monitor utility that I've got, it shows you how that single chip distributes the use of it, right? So if it's not doing graphics, then it uses the whole thing for processing on the CPU side. If it's going to be using the GPU side of things, which I'm going to test right now, it'll show you right now 100% load on the GPU, 600 megahertz on the core clock. There you can see it, as opposed to using the CPU power. So it's the CPU versus GPU on the same chip, offloading one to the other, so that way it distributes the processing properly, right? And you can do more multitasking, for example. So that's very good. Okay, that's very good. Overclocking, like I said, even though the multiplier is locked, you increase the bus speed from 100 to 130, decrease the multiplier from 29 to 27, and bam, 3.5 gigahertz. That's a huge wallop. Again, temperatures went up to 46 degrees Celsius on full load, but that's very, very acceptable. Very acceptable. Again, this is using the brand new 32 nanometer architecture, so keep that in mind. Now, looking at Cinebench results here for the GPU and CPU, overclocked, you get a huge boost in performance that it does better than the Phenom 2 quad-core 840. Okay, now, of course, if I don't overclock it, it doesn't do as well as the results there from the quad-core 840, but still very, very close. Very, very close. Essentially, this type of APU processor comes comparable to an Athlon quad-core or this Phenom 2 quad-core without level 3 cache. Okay, so that's the way I really put it. The benefit here is that you get a GPU built in, so you don't have to go out and buy another card. Okay, it's running in there together. Now let's concentrate on the CPU scores though. 3D Mark Vantage, if we look at the CPU scores at default and overclocked, you can see that it beats all of these other CPUs. So definitely there's huge improvements in this new technology that are evident. You can see it right there in the performance. And I can feel it too when I'm playing games with it. You can tell this is not like running integrated graphics on a motherboard. This graphic processing is much faster. You can feel it when you're playing. The frames per second are smoother. Here is calculating pi to 1 million decimals, 25 seconds at default clock speeds. If I overclock it to 3.5 gigahertz, bam, I saved 4 seconds. Crisis Warhead, again, you know, you want to look for about 30 frames per second so you can get decent flow from playing. But then again, you want to run things not necessarily on high. You can do that for benchmarking, but when you play games with this type of chip, you want to really run things on mainstream or medium settings, okay? But this gives you a good idea on how well the processing of the GPU is doing on these high settings, on these high presets, okay? Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, again, great results on high settings with 2AA, very smooth as you can see, and this is using the built-in GPU on this APU chip. So really, really good technology happening here from AMD. Reduce CPU utilization, offloading to the GPU, low temperatures. You can add another card to boost in performance, and actually I'll make another video about that. And great overclocking. You saw it, 3.5 gigahertz. Bam! Great stuff from AMD. Definitely recommend it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.